Hi, Matt.
Hi, Bobby. Can you hear me?
I can. Everything sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to try and get my program up. Share screen.
I would wait.
Okay,
I would wait because I believe board members would like to do an introduction before we start. Um, and then once they're able to do that introduction, then you can hit that share screen portion.
okay.
And hello, attendees. Thank you for being here. We will get going at 7 o'clock. If you would like to speak, the board will give you instructions, but you'll just raise your hand when the board notifies you, and then we'll promote you to panelist to speak. Hi, Shirley.
Hi, Bobby.
Your sound works. Everything's good.
Yep, I got her straightened out.
All right. Shirley, would you like to call out the names? And then I'll promote them.
I
Is that
can. Yep, that's good.
okay? Sounds good. I'm going to mute myself and we'll get this going at 7 o'clock.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
There.
Hi, everybody.
Are we ready to begin?
Yep.
I believe so.
I'm not, are we alone out there? Or are there other people joining us? Can't tell who the,
There's like 35 on right now. So
okay. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on Zoom this evening. Your engagement means a lot to us, and we understand that when you send your children to school, their safety and well-being is at the top of your minds. And the recent school shooting in the news and the secure status on our West Side schools last week, and then we've had some stuff this week, certainly has heightened this conversation. And we want to make sure that we recognize local law enforcement and their contributions that they've made, particularly in the last couple of weeks. Tonight, we're going to provide an overview of the safety protocols that we have in place to protect our students and staff. And we want to hear from community members about their concerns for student safety. We would like to hear solution-focused feedback. We want to reassure you that this board is fully committed to doing what is best for our more than 12,000 students and nearly 1,800 staff who serve this district. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. We'll be using a timer, and please refrain from identifying individuals and direct all comments to the board. And this goes without saying, but please keep your comments respectful. Shirley will be able to tell us who wants to speak if you just raise your Zoom hand. But before we move into the listening session portion, we wanted to hear from Matt Sargent, who is our safety manager, and he's just going to kind of give a high-level overview of some of the safety protocols in our district. So Matt, please take it away.
Okay, I'm going to try and get my program up. Maybe. There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. What I'd like to do is just give a quick overview of our crisis management planning that we have with our school district here. And again, my name is Matt Sargent. I am the Rapid City Area Schools School Safety Manager. This program actually began just over a year ago in 2023. And immediately our areas of focus were school safety assessments, working with outside agencies, the South Dakota Department of Public Safety, the Fusion Center, the Safe to Say program, that's all through the state of South Dakota, Department of Homeland Security and their protective security advisors. The facilities manager, Jade Clement, for Rapid City Area Schools, student support services and threat assessments, that would be with Tom Stewart. And then working with our own security, our SROs and training, then working with principals with their own crisis management plans, writing up the reunification plan, and then a new concept of a new program called Do More. So far, in the last year and a half, we have done school assessments, annual visits at all 22 schools. This has conducted traffic summaries, making sure all of our programs are operational, our doors, our alarms, and then focusing on our traffic summaries on our pickup and drop off areas for our children. We've reviewed all of the emergency binders and crisis management plans, making sure we have updated programs in with our floor plans, our crisis management plans for those that need them. Determine our school safety needs per each administrator, our principals at our buildings, and then our school needs per the safety manager, me. South Dakota Department of Public Safety, this is Brett Garland, who we work with on a regular basis. One of our great partners, our state agencies. And Brett has really come in and helped a lot with our assessments, getting us a good connection with the Fusion Center, the program called Safe to Say, which is an anonymous reporting for students and families to report bullying, everything from bullying to criminal activity and things they feel are not safe for our school district. Then any other additional assessment needed, we are able to go through the state to get this done. We work with the Department of Homeland Security quite closely. These are Scott Davis, who is the supervising agent, and Brad Eggers, who is one of our security advisors. We do a lot of open air assessments for safety for our sporting events and our programs that are outside the building. And then we also have access to the federal safety programs that they provide. Facilities. We work a lot in collaboration with our facilities manager, Jade Clement, for building improvement through safety. Facility inspections are done annually. Strategic plan are following our pillars, making sure that our buildings are safe for our kids and staff and those that come to visit. We have a very, very good communication program that radios and programs for our emergency communication. We work closely with our student safety plans, our staff safety plans, and then when our communities are involved. Student support services. This is where our threat assessments go, and we start working with our kids in the event that a major threat is stated, and it's a family-based program that we work with the family to help minimize the problems that we may see. Last big partner is our school resource officers, the Rapid City Police Department, Pennington County Sheriff's Office. Currently, Rapid City Police Department has 8 SROs assigned to Rapid City area schools: Central, North, West, South, and Southwest middle schools, then General Beadle. Those SROs that are assigned to middle schools also have their elementary school feeder schools. Pennington County Sheriff's Office has 4 SROs assigned to Rapid City area schools: Stevens High School and East Middle School. The middle school SROs are also responsible for the feeder schools for East, those elementary schools. One of the big things that we really pushed when we started this program was training and improving training for SROs and security. Currently, we are working with our first responders, getting security, the additional medical training that they need. The SCM program, we're putting them through a classroom called Emotional Poverty, and then Responsible Centered Discipline and Conscious Discipline. Rapid City Police Department, Pennington County Sheriff's Office in November will be going through the Emotional Poverty class and the Responsible Centered Discipline and Conscious Discipline. Our crisis management plans is an outline for review for staff on how to best handle a crisis while keeping our students and our staff as safe as we can. In this is threat assessments, suicide prevention, severe weather, fire alarms and evacuations, and then ALICE, our alert, lockdown, inform, and counter evacuate plan. And under that is our secure your building and lockdowns. We also started our reunification plan in the event that we can no longer go back to our buildings. The reunification plan was written to reunite students with their families in the event of a school evacuation. This plan also contains in it our evacuation sites, transportation, reunification sites, and our process and how to reunify families to their children. Lastly, and one of the big things that we're really pushing is a program called Do More. Do More is a program with security and law enforcement where they're in the schools building connections with students by showing these students what these guys and ladies do in their time. For example, when I was an SRO, I coached wrestling and taught constitutional law in the classrooms. I have security and law enforcement doing everything from singing in the choirs, coaching sports, and even one that is a really good cook, cooking in our family consumer science room. This is showing that there is definitely a different side of our security and our law enforcement. This was a really quick overview of our security program. This is my information. Please don't hesitate to email me or call me if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And I think take down his information because that is really important. Tonight is we're really wanting to just listen and not have a dialogue. Certainly, if there's quick questions we can answer here and there, we may do that, but mostly we're just here to listen tonight. And if you have other questions, we'll write them down, or you can certainly email us or Mr. Sargent. Please just raise your hand if you'd like to speak. And if you don't have your name on your Zoom account, then just when you're called, make sure that you state your name for the record, please. All right, Shirley, we're ready.
I have no hands raised at this time. So please feel free. Look, we have our first one here. JU Zoom user. Bobby will move you over.
They are on their way. Zoom user, you are now a panelist and you can speak if you would like. We cannot hear you. You are muted.
Is there anyone else that might want to speak while we're waiting for Zoom user?
Ruff had a person had their name, their hand raised. They have unraised it. Ruff, would you still like to speak? Yes. Would you transfer Bobby?
Yes, I will. Zoom user did write a chat to everyone. I don't know if you guys are able to see that. If one of the board members would like to read it out loud.
Okay, I can read it. He said, my phone is not unmuting, but here's what I have to say. As a new parent of an RCAS student, my child's safety is my top priority, and I have heard rumors. Sorry, guys, this is not. And I've heard rumors about a secure environment for students and staff. I would appreciate any clarification on this matter and hope the board will carefully consider the impact this decision could have on school safety. And I think I might have missed that a line there. If any of my colleagues can see what that says, it's blocking out on my screen.
I can do
I have
it.
heard rumors that the board may be considering a change, taking SROs out of schools. I believe that having SROs on site plays a vital role in maintaining a safe and secure environment for students and staff. I would appreciate any clarification on this matter and hope that the board will carefully consider the impact this decision would have on school safety.
Okay, thank you for weighing in. We appreciate that. We have another speaker, Shirley.
Ruff.
Okay. We're ready for you. Ruff, are you there?
Good
There we
afternoon.
go.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep, we are here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering if anybody could hear me. My audio was kind of goofing off on me. Sorry for the weird screen name. Ruff is that's a weird screen name. I don't know. My name is Victor Hernandez, everybody. Hi.
Hi.
So, in regards to what's been going on lately, last week and then even today with the social media threats to schools, my question is, as a parent, because I have two children who go to RCAS schools. My question is, what can we as parents do to help out in these circumstances? What can we do to make sure that our kids are safe, and if that they notice anything online regarding threats to schools, what should we do?
Do you mind if I speak real quick to that? Hi, Ms. Curtis, thanks for being here tonight. One thing I can say is, and that Mr. Sargent mentioned, and I would say I've thought about maybe we should send it out, but the Safe to Say reporting is really helpful. That's statewide, and any person can actually have that app on their phone or report anything that they feel questionable to Safe to Say, and then that goes through like a statewide clearinghouse, so it helps to see when there's repeats of the same thing being reposted and things like that. And Mr. Sargent and I have had a couple good conversations about that, so that's a tool that we probably could benefit from making families more aware of, and that they can utilize that. But that's definitely one step in the right direction, is using that Safe to Save program.
Okay, thank you.
Christine, did you have anything you wanted to say? Your hand is up.
Yeah, I did. Mostly in response. Can you all hear me? I just want to make sure. Okay. I didn't test my mic beforehand, but in response to Zoom user and the rumors of the board considering taking SROs out of schools, just to clarify from my perspective as one board member, this is a rumor that I have heard, but not from any board member ever. So I just want to be clear on that. I don't know for a fact that there's no board member interested in removing SROs from school, but I can tell you for a fact, I have not heard that from any board member, member of this board. And so that's about all the clarification that I think we can offer, but I did want to put it out there. And for you and for everybody, because you're certainly not the only person who is wondering that.
Thank you, Christine. I concur. All right, Shirley, anyone else?
Do we have anybody else that would like to speak this evening?
I have a couple things while we're waiting on people to decide if that's all right. So one thing that I was thinking, while Matt was going actually, and then kind of to your point, Jamie, is I wonder if we could put together like a safety website, like on our website, as part of the revamp. Because I know some other parents had also had some concerns about like what is a lockdown or an Alice or a secure building, and all of those things could be there along with the Safe to Say, and there was another one, like some information on the Do More stuff, that sort of thing all together.
I think that's a good idea. And I would just say on our website right now, if you go to the parents tab, and then you go to parent resources and you scroll down to the very bottom, there's something that says what to expect during a school emergency. And that could probably be more visible for sure, but that's just a high level overview of what an Alice is, what secure status means, all of the different things that you might hear during inclement weather. It talks about what parents should do in the event of an emergency so that they're not adding to traffic at the schools and things like that. So that there is that. It's on the parents page under resources right now, but I think we could definitely beef that up, Michael.
As long as we're waiting for somebody, I think that it would be great, as I've been putting a lot of thought into this, for each school to have a school safety night for parents and families, caretakers to come in and just learn and ask questions, and have the SROs there, and have the I as a parent sometimes feel a little lost about what's going to happen if something goes on. Although I do think teachers, administrators have been very good at communicating. I think a night like that, with the purpose of giving an overview and being able to have your questions answered, would be really valuable.
And perhaps we could even hold some sort of a forum. We did that after the Parkland shooting in 2018, and we had members of law enforcement present, and it was an opportunity for everybody to kind of learn in detail what we can do, as much as we can go into detail. And I wanted to say too, Rapid City Area Schools has really been kind of ahead of its time in terms of safety protocols, because back in the 90s, we had the hostage situation at Stevens, and that propelled our district to start making safety plans that a lot of districts didn't start doing until really after Columbine. And so we have an old liaison program that's been around before those programs were popular in schools. And so certainly there's areas that we can get better, and that's why we're here tonight, because we want to hear your input in areas where you are concerned. But I do feel confident that we have a really strong program in place, and we have a whole position that's dedicated to it, on top of a number of SROs and security staff as well.
Bobby had her hand raised, and then we had Adriana Green.
I just wanted to add that I am working with Matt currently to revamp some of that information and also create a one-page document that follows their communication and community pillar that we hope to have out next week. That's just kind of the basic overview of what, like, before. So one section's like prepare, so how to prepare for a school emergency for your student's school, and then during a school emergency, and then after the fact. So we are working on that, and we hope to have it out next week.
Great.
Adriana Green. And then it'll be Tanisha.
Okay, Adriana, whenever you're ready, please go for it.
Okay, this is actually Sabrina Green, Adriana Green's mom. I'm not sure why it said her name.
Hi, Sabrina.
I just wanted to get on. I don't normally, I've been trying really hard to follow more of what's happening within the school. Adriana is my oldest. She graduated in 2023. Going back from when she was in kindergarten to nowadays, I have two smaller children that are in an elementary school. What the schools have done for changes as securities in the schools have improved tremendously. I could remember back from when she was in elementary and the doors were constantly unlocked. You can walk in any door, but nowadays I can walk to my children's school and I have to buzz to get in. I mean, the security process has been changing, and I think it's making the kids feel more safer. I do have, where the SROs have been involved in where my children go to school currently at an elementary, and watching them interact with all the children is phenomenal. I think they have given a great presence for themselves, helping the children feel like they're okay there and they're there if they need them. Watching my kid go through one of the programs last year and how all of those kids just praised the officer of what he has done and the class that he trained them. I mean, they are interacting. And then after Thursday's Stevens event, that next day, I took my children to school, and the first person that you seen on that site was an SRO there to show presence, letting the kids know that they are still there to serve and protect these children. That's their job, is to help these children understand that you can go to school and we're going to protect you so you can gain that education. Yes, the teachers are there and they go through that ALICE training. I've been through that ALICE training. It is not easy. I am not one that, if I was put in the situation, that I would be able to hold strong. And to have an officer that can report and be inside of these schools is phenomenal, knowing that they are armed and ready to take on those situations for the people that cannot do it. And I praise that they are always there available for these children.
Thank you, Sabrina. Anyone else? Shirley?
Did you decide not to speak?
You're frozen, Shirley.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm currently not seeing any other hands raised right at the moment.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do think this is, I feel like we're kind of, I don't want to say feeling dead air, but I also don't want
Oh, Ruff would like to speak again.
people to feel pressured. And I do feel like this is a good environment. Oh, okay. Well, I'll say really quickly about that. Another thing that I think Ms. Stephenson, I can't take any credit for, but that I think it's important to know is that every safety situation, like we learn from in debriefing, and that one of the things came up in talking about children's health needs during an emergency and having access to diabetic needs and those things. So I think it's good to know, like, obviously we're not perfect, and that these things do give us an opportunity to go one step better and say, okay, now in every room we need to have some sort of something for a diabetic student, or where would EpiPens be kept and how would a teacher know where that is? So I think that it's really great for us to learn and grow from every safety protocol and every experience that we have in the district.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay, do we have Ruff back or not Ruff? Sorry. We're ready for you.
Don't forget to unmute.
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so hello again, my name is Victor Hernandez, not Ruff, but anyways.
Victor, thank you.
Another question that I have is in regards to bullying. I know resource officer Matt Sargent mentioned something, a program, I think. What was that? What was that called again? Oh, I can't hear you.
I believe that was also part of the Safe to Say, can all be
Safe to
reported under that. Yeah, it's safe and then the number 2 say. And I just had the website pulled up. I can pull it up again and drop it in the chat here for everyone. It's a safetosay.sd.gov. And as Jamie said, you can report all sorts of different things there. It can be threats, or it can be like a bullying thing, any sorts of, let's see, host and panel. Well, that's just to us. Is there a way I can send this to everybody? Maybe there's not a way I can send that to everybody. I put that in the chat. Do you guys see that? I don't think they see that. But it's safe, then the number 2 say.sd.gov. And it has a whole bunch of information there about like mental health stuff, behavioral stuff, emergency procedures, all sorts of different things that the state can provide.
Thank you, Michael. Victor, anything else on that topic or anything else you wanted to share?
Hold on, I'm trying to paste this on my web browser. It's safe to say, to see if it works. All right, there it is. Okay, thanks. Well, I guess still on the topic of bullying, what resources besides Safe to Say, what other resources are there for parents to help deal or help our kids deal with the issue of bullying at school? Because you know, it's kind of hitting close to home for me, especially with my kids, and you know, they're dealing with a lot of things, peer pressure, you know, trying to be tough, but at the same time is like, you know, what programs can a parent like me look for my child at school to help them deal with those issues? Should I go to the counselor, or what should I do?
Yeah, I think if you have concerns, the first step would be to talk to their teacher or their counselor. We have bullying policies and anti-bullying policies in place and different programming in the schools to support students, but that would probably be my first contact, is a teacher. And then of course talking to your student and is it, you know, is it bullying, or what does that look like, and what tools can you give them just to stand up for themselves, I think, and have a conversation. And if that doesn't work, then talking to teachers and going directly to that source.
And I think another to follow up, thank you for that, Katie. Another couple of suggestions I will tell you. I'll be completely honest, I have 2 children in the district. And our handbooks can be a little overwhelming, but
Yeah.
there is particularly if you click on the handbook and then there is a section specifically that outlines our bullying policy, and then you can like go to page whatever in both elementary, middle, and high school. We do also, outside our counselors, we also have our Lifeways programs in our schools, which address a lot with bullying, with alcohol use, with self-esteem. And I would say we have a great relationship with Lifeways. We do have several MOUs with different resources. In the middle schools, we do even have some talking circles. And of course, if anybody can remember the actual specific name of the program and can pull it out, wonderful. I can't think of it right this second. But I know we just started that either a year or 2 years ago. And so that's a very tries to be a very safe place for students to just talk about whatever. And it is led by volunteers that are, screened through the district volunteer process. And so that's another resource as well.
Are you talking about teammates, the mentoring?
No, it's different.
Got it.
I'll say Christine might remember as she has her hand up, but I can't tell you the name.
I think it's OLO, but
Yes, I think that's it.
Those are Lakota words that if I try and say them, I'm not going to say them correctly.
Yeah.
But my hand was up, Victor, to just tonight was supposed to be a listening session to concerns that you have, and at the board level, we might not be the best people to we aren't the best people to answer your question, but I think the fact that you're asking it is really important. I just went over to the website and I was like, okay, let's pretend I had a kid who was bullied and I didn't know anything. I would go onto the website and I kind of went to the school's counselor department. There's nothing really about bullying. And then I went to something else and there's links to policies about conduct. But I think you're bringing up a really good point that I think we should address. That there should be something on the webpage that's a school safety handbook and a link, what to do if your kid is getting bullied, and Jamie's right. I mean, there are steps. You should start with the teacher within the school is always going to be best, but what are the steps afterwards? That we should be really clear about that so that people don't get frustrated because they don't have time to search through a handbook that's sometimes complicated or hard to navigate.
Yeah, the time, the patience, goodness, schedules. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of our information just needs to be really easy to find. And I would say, I think, given how common bullying is or how it's perceived to be very common, that should be really easy to find.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Anything else? Any other speakers?
Mercy.
Mercy?
Yes.
All right, Mercy, we're ready for you, I believe. Okay, I see you. There you go. Hi, Mercy.
Hi, this is Joe.
Hi, Joe.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good, thank you.
So I have a question. Most of the people that are on this webinar this evening have kids in the school attending currently, correct?
I think, let's see, I do. Jamie does,
Yeah.
Christine does.
The majority though, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be beneficial for all of us to have our kids sit down and listen to this stuff as well? Because it's kind of a learning curve at the same time. Plus it's kind of a home. It gives them something to do at home with us too. That's positive. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of like us talking about it and then going back and relaying information at the same time, kind of is a long route, I think if they're involved from the beginning with us in this process, it will help them and be more beneficial because then they'll have more of a, what's that mean? Anyhow.
Or buy-in.
Sorry about that. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this, though.
Joe, I think I think that's we as a board will welcome any opportunity to hear from students or talk to students. And I think you bring up a good point. We maybe should have made that clear that student input is welcome. And students are welcome to attend. There's nothing here that we're going to discuss that isn't appropriate for certainly our middle schoolers and high schoolers at least.
Right. It's all about them in the end.
Yeah, they are welcome, but we didn't make that clear.
And
Yeah.
I would like to follow up with too,
Yeah, they said that they are always welcome, but also as a community outreach, so the community outreach committee is Miss Urban, Miss Stephenson, and myself, and we've actually been talking about since last spring, either going into schools or finding ways to do listening sessions with basically students only. It's kind of been expressed to us sometimes that students have a little bit more trouble speaking up in a group of a lot of adults. And so we plan, it is in our plan, in our very first meeting, we talked about, we plan to provide more opportunities for listening sessions for students, even meeting them where they are at school. So that is one of our definitive goals for this year.
Right. You brought up a great point right there. Kids do have a problem sometimes speaking up, but with their parents there, might give them a little bit more of a will to go, right? Like with these webinars and stuff anyway. So yeah, I brought this up with my cousin Clay Clome whenever he was on the board. And I don't know how far he went with that, but yeah, you all are doing a good job though.
Thank you for being here, Joe. I think
Yeah.
that's input.
Okay.
To build trust with them kids too.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We have Adriana Green's
Sabrina.
mom again.
Sabrina, are you back?
Sabrina, okay. I didn't catch her name. My volume was down last time.
That's okay. Yes, it's Sabrina. I just want to chime in on the last gentleman. You know, I did go sit at Central. I went and listened and listened and listened. And I thought to myself, there was things I needed to say. I came home, I spoke to my children about it. They're young, they're in elementary, but they still understand it. Tonight on Zoom, we've been sitting here and they've been able to listen to it all night. They have asked questions. And one of my children, he is 11 years old, and he says, Mom, I don't want resource officers to leave my school. They help me feel safe. I mean, I've involved them. It's up to us as parents to choose whether it's important to them and to involve them on our side to help them feel safer that these conversations are happening. And I don't know what everybody else's families, but it's us also as parents' responsibility to offer that up, because in the end, this affects them. It's their schools of safetyness.
Absolutely. And I can't speak for everyone either, but as a parent, I certainly feel better with SROs in my school, my child's school. So I think your son has many good points. Yeah, I'm glad they're listening. Anyone else, Shirley?
No one at this moment. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak this evening? Oh, we have a couple more. Nate, Jamie, and then Tanisha.
Hi, Nate, we're ready for you.
Hey, yes, it's actually pronounced Jaime. That's okay. So two things real quick. I think first would be I wasn't able to attend this meeting at Central, and I think you know, in the future, for those that can't attend in person, if there's some kind of like recap of what was discussed, I think would be really helpful. Just so you know, if there was a question that I had that someone else brought up, you know, then I maybe don't feel the need so much to bring it up in this meeting, or maybe if there's a response that a board member gave to a question that was asked, like I just think that could be super helpful for those that whether schedule or other things can't permit to make it in person. Second thing is I think safety goes far beyond gun violence and those types of things, and just wanted to point out, I've emailed all of you in the past, but all 4 of my kids go to Meadowbrook, just so you guys all know. And 3 of my boys have come home basically what amounts to like heat exhaustion. And I just think that to me is a safety issue in and of itself. So again, God forbid that we ever deal with any kind of thing related to gun violence. And, sadly that may happen at some point, but I think the reality is that the things that are facing our students currently are, as the other gentleman pointed out, bullying. Like that's like a real thing that every kid might experience more frequently than other things. But then our district having, and again, I know this isn't a facilities meeting, but I just think our district having so many buildings and facilities that are so old, I think the health and safety of our students goes beyond, the topics that typically come up. And so I just thought I would point that out. I had one of my sons come home, his cheeks were flush and felt very warm. And it wasn't one of the hottest days. It wasn't even, and it was one of the days they didn't let out early. But anyways, I just thought I'd bring that up as a point of just really wanting to emphasize that is something near and dear to my heart. I have a lot of respect for all of you. Appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. I know that this is not something entirely new to all of you, but having just experienced something like that last week, it was pretty disappointing, pretty frustrating for me as a parent to experience that in a place, what feels like, we live in a first world country. But anyways, that's what I'll say on that. And like I said, appreciate all of you. Appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. And that's it.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, I don't think anybody here would disagree with you that it's something that we're all very concerned about. It's definitely on our radar, the facilities piece. And I'm hoping that we will be able to start moving towards solutions very soon.
There's definitely a lot of overlap between school safety and our facilities discussion. And couldn't agree with you more. Heat is, we can't have our kids going home with heat stroke.
Is the next person still out there, Miss Shirley? Or did they?
Anisha, please.
There we go.
There, Bobby's got her moving. There we go.
Anisha, we are ready for you. You're muted, just in case you can't tell.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So it's just more of a not really a question, but when everything was going on Thursday, I had one kid at school and then the other one was home because he doesn't go in until 1:30 or 1:45. And so I called up to Central because I got the email saying if your student is not at school already, to keep them home. And so I called up to Central just to verify that. And I was met with a very annoyed attitude. It was I accidentally said lockdown. I said, because since you guys are on a lockdown, she's like, we're not on a lockdown. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. It's a secured status, right? And she's like, oh my God, no, it's not a secured status. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's the email that I just received. And she's like, no, Central's not on a secured status. It's fine. You can bring him in. She's like, they're going to send you guys an email saying that was incorrect. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but at that time, like when you're going through something like that, it's just give us a little grace, It's a tough time, and that it goes a long way. The kindness goes a long way. And don't get me wrong, I've got nothing bad to say about Central staff. I love them. They're great. But just this one incident, I was like, whoa, like, holy moly. And of course, that kind of made me like, well, want to get kind of jumpy a little bit as well. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So, but yeah, I know if it happened to me, it could be happening to other parents. And in that situation, that's not something you need to be dealing with when you're already worried about your kids and what could be going on at school that you don't know about.
Yeah, thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry you experienced that because it's already super stressful. So I'm sure
Right. It was.
that was not great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanisha.
Of course.
Bobby, did you have your hand raised?
I accidentally raised my hand. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Do you have anybody
long as-
else that would like to speak this evening?
While we're waiting for somebody, I just wanted to say, in response to Tanisha, but just to everybody, like, what a stressful situation when messages were, I mean, no doubt messages were getting crossed, and whoever answered that phone probably was getting 1,000 calls. And so not to offer an excuse, Tanisha, I'm sorry that happened to you, and I'm also sorry for people who were kind of caught in the crosshairs of messages being mixed. Maybe the wrong metaphor for that day. I apologize for that. But anyway, for people who were dealing with mixed messages.
Any other thoughts that you want to share?
Oh, we have Victor has raised his hand.
Victor, we are almost ready for you. We're ready for you, Victor.
Hello, last question, promise. So the last question that I have is in terms of busing, because the winter's fast approaching. Is RCAS still having issues with enough drivers to bus students around? Because right now, me and my wife are kind of just taking our kids in the morning to school. So, and it's kind of stressful for us because we have to work in the morning, we have to take time off to take our kids to school, and then we have to take time off to bring our kids back from school. So like, what's the situation right now? And I know it's not related to safety so much, but I just want to ask that question as well.
Sure. I mean, yes, there's still a bus driver shortage. We're trying our best to minimize the cancellations. So doing it 2 weeks at a time and not, of course, the same neighborhood, kind of having everybody take a turn. We just approved a study that is going to be done that will hopefully offer some solutions to bus driver shortages, because it's just gotten worse, and we're not alone in Rapid City. That's kind of a nationwide issue.
Okay.
So we are working to address it, but unfortunately, we've tried a lot of things and we're still, struggling to get our numbers up. But, hopefully we can minimize disruptions by kind of having everybody take a turn with those 2-week cancellations.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you guys know the answer to this. Oh, no, go ahead, Jamie, or whoever is trying to speak, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you wanted to shoot, honestly, any of us an email, Mr. Sassy did a presentation on like, here's where we are, here's our challenges. It's like a brief just video and explains like really where our transportation status is and kind of where we're left to look at going. So if you emailed any of us, we could certainly forward you that, which would help give you just a little more background on like where we are and what we're doing to attempt to address it too.
Okay. The other question I want to ask is just about same thing about transportation. Was the issue due to, I guess, kids misbehaving, because I know my kid told me, and this was, 2 years ago before we had to, before we had the issue with busing, and then, we even had to take our kid out of busing for a bit so that we can drive him to school. But was the issue due to just kids misbehaving in general, or was it just lack of funding? I'm not sure, because it's.
I think
But
bus bus driver shortages, there's a number of reasons for it. I think behavior issues are probably an issue for some, and it's something that we're working on. I know trying to give professional development to bus drivers to help support them. But certainly that is an issue, but more than anything, it's just a shortage of drivers, and there's a variety of reasons. And like Jamie said, we can certainly send you a presentation that has quite a bit of background on that.
Bobby actually just shared that link in the chat.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're muted, Katie.
Thank you. Do we have any others out there, Shirley, with some
We
thoughts?
A. Peters.
All right. Miss or Mr. Peters, I think we're ready for you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is actually Brian Peters. So getting back to this safety topic, with what went on, I guess, was it earlier today? And then also the prior event, I have a student at Stevens. The fact that nearly every older kid has a phone with them in school, in class, in the hallways, is that with everybody's social media, is that helping with communication that all kids have phones, or is it just adding fuel to the fire of speculation and things just kind of running rampant with everybody freaking out?
Well, I don't know that I'm necessarily qualified to answer that question, but I would think that you would hear from administration that would say it's certainly not helping. And I think there's a lot of conversation out there right now on that very topic. Yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
I definitely feel as a school board member, I'm not qualified to answer that. I think there's a whole huge debate with a lot of experts who are weighing in on that right now. So as a school board member, can't answer it, but as a parent, I have definitely been asking it the last few days to myself. What is the role of these phones, and are they helping or are they hurting? And Brian, I'm right there with you. We'll try to kind of dig into that a little bit and just make sure that we're doing the right thing for our students.
So on that topic, is that a school system decision to potentially disallow phones in class or anything like that, or is that more of a state decision?
So
Right
I
now-
could,
Go ahead,
oh,
Jane.
sorry. I was just gonna say, so really it technically comes down to policy. Could theoretically a legislature apply a law to, technically, yes, they could. Most of us feel that if we set a precedent, if the legislator sets a precedent for making specific policies for schools, that removes a lot of local control, which is a slippery slope. If it's done for one policy or law, what's to say that it won't be done for 20 different things that then the state would then control? I do think, this is just our first listening session, and we haven't determined the topics of the other 2 to 3 that we will have this year. So is it possible possible that we may have a listening session that's really focused on that. It's absolutely possible. And it is something that's very much at the forefront of the board's mind and has been presented to us by several parents. So it is definitely something I said that's on our radar. But I think generally speaking, we tend to prefer not for the legislator not to make large blanket laws, because that becomes really complicated for districts if we can't make our own policy, which is what boards are supposed to do.
So, yeah, and I would agree with that, to keep that control as local as possible. But in your answer, I guess I am hearing that that making a change with a phone policy would be something within your control as a board.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And I would just say, Mr. Peters, that right now, if you look in our handbooks, it says that cell phones are not allowed in classrooms. And I know at the elementary and middle school level, they're pretty strict about that. And when you get to high school, I think it's a little bit different because a lot of them don't have lockers. They carry their backpacks around all day. And so I think you kind of see a range of things happening there. But I think it's certainly a discussion or a topic that's on everyone's mind. And it's something that we're probably going to have to address sooner than later.
I would agree. Can I vote on it now, or is now not the right time?
Now is the perfect time. This is our
let's
you can tell us what you think.
Let's get them out of their possession. You know, I'm sure there's concerns about parents being able to communicate with kids while they're at school. That's a luxury we now have. We certainly didn't when I was a kid. Everybody seemed to survive that, but I just think it's a massive distraction. And I think that some kids are much better at handling that responsibility than others. I'm maybe dealing with one of the others in that situation. So, okay. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it's wise to point out how cell phones are a part of this discussion when we're talking about bullying and we're talking about safety and we're talking about mental health and self-harm. Like all of that is school safety, and it is a part of the discussion. So I appreciate you bringing it up, Brian.
Any other hands, Shirley?
I do not see any.
Okay. Well, it's 8 o'clock. So I think we can probably wrap up here. If there are any other parting thoughts, you have 10 seconds to click your hand button. In the meantime, are there any board members that want to weigh in or have any final thoughts?
I would final thought, just honestly, this experience, I continue to just be really proud of our community and people really joining in. And I feel like providing both the Zoom and the in-person, I know sometimes in-person can be intimidating. And I feel like this was a different feel, a very like comfortable feeling. And it encourages me to really continue this as community outreach and give another venue and opportunity for our families to have voices. And I feel like, as strange as it sounds, even being not in the space, it's almost a little bit more direct connection with families, I think, to be able to see that person up close. And I appreciate having that connection as a board member. So I look forward to more of these later.
All right. Well, if that is it, we will wrap up our safety listening session. And we hope to have more. We're going to be talking soon about the different topics in the future. So we'll make sure to advertise those. But thank you for taking the time and making the investment and being here this evening. And of course, our emails are online on the board page at rcas.com. So .org. So if you have any feedback or other things that you'd like us to know, please feel free to reach out. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Thanks. Bye, guys.